Here we go.
And Jen, just to clarify, if folks have questions, would you like them in the chat?
That's a good question. I thought it depends on how many people are here, but
Okay. We'll use the chat liberally then for now.
yeah, exactly. And then if there's more questions. Okay, so I'm going to do a slideshow, get Zoom back up, and I'm going to share my screen. There it is. Okay, so we have our agenda for this evening. And as Peter said, he introduced staff who are here. And I'm Jen Goldenberg. I'm a teacher on special assignment for the ELD program. We have 2 ELD programs in our district. We have structured English immersion, where the language of instruction is English for the most part. And then we have dual immersion, which is why we're here tonight. So on the agenda, we're going to be going through some performance data at elementary, middle, and high school, talking about the matriculation to middle school and then the high school. I'll give you a brief update on the DI master plan, and then Peter will finish us up with summer school. So, whoops. I think, yeah, we're going to start with the elementary schools, and the next slide we'll hear from Liz Costello.
Hi, I was on there pretty quick. So this is, both schools use a program called Renaissance Learning, and you may know it as AR, Accelerated Reader, with your students, as that's how they take quizzes. But part of that component is there's a STAR test, which gives us reading level, instructional reading level, and scaled scores. So that's where this is coming from. This is the STAR assessment. We took the last test that was given to a student. So different tests are given at different times. I'll speak slower, Nadia. Different tests are given at different times. In other words, some schools do every 6 to 8 weeks. Some do it at a trimester. So whichever was the last exam given was the one that was pulled for this. And so these are our levels. Kinder, we don't assess, because for kinder, most of our kids aren't reading. And if they are, then it's just a few that are on the program, not overall. First grade, you can see in the columns, we have below grade level. We have approaching or near grade level. We have at or above grade level. So the data is looking pretty good. We have what we would expect to be below grade level in each of the grade levels. As you see, usually as it gets older, that 3rd grade bubble is an interesting one. So that's something that we're gonna have to look at to see what's happening there. That is usually when we start increasing a little bit more of the English, but usually we do see that in the younger grades, the window's a little bit smaller. There's more kids meeting, and as they get older, there's more kids kind of struggling as things get more difficult. But we have lots of kids, as you can see in the last column, at or above grade level, which is really exciting to see. And then lots in the middle that are kind of approaching. So that means that they're doing really well. They're chugging along as we would expect. And remember, we're looking at most of these kids as language learners. So this is scoring this high on a language new to them. Even those that came in speaking Spanish, most of them weren't reading in Spanish, right? They had to learn how to do that as well. So the fact that we have so many approaching or at above grade level is really exciting. So the scores are looking pretty good. I don't see any questions in the chat, so I'm gonna pass it along.
Excellent, thank you. I was trying to find my control so I could unmute. My mouse is probably going crazy. So our next set of data is from the middle school, and I believe Sharon will be sharing this data with us.
That's correct. So for this slide, it's the middle school Spanish language arts, and you can see that our students are doing very well, with the vast majority of the students earning an A or a B in Spanish language arts. And you can see we broke it down for those in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, which is the dual immersion Spanish, and then Spanish for Spanish speakers 1 and 2. So pretty happy with that data. Our students are making good progress. Okay, so the next slide is the social science data, and this is not as positive. We have a lot of students who are doing very well, but we also have a chunk you can see that are struggling in this course. And because we know, because we have the proof in the Spanish language course that the students are actually progressing very well and learning very well, we believe that this is really more a mismatch with the curriculum. So we're going to be analyzing the curriculum, whether we need to make adjustments to the current curriculum in terms of other supports for the current curriculum, or if we need to investigate other options instead. So we will be looking at that more closely, because this is also really good data, but not exactly what we want to see for all students. Then the next slide. So one of the questions we had was, is this really a factor of how much or how many Spanish courses the students are taking, if they're choosing one course or 2 courses? So we went ahead and ran the data that way too, so that we could really dig deeper into what was going on here. And because you can see the data here is kind of all over the place, from really good performance in 6th grade to other grades where it's not so strong, and we still have clusters of kids who just aren't doing well. So that made us realize it's really a matter of the Spanish social studies curriculum that we really have to look at, and that's what we'll be doing. That's a task for us. Okay, and the next slide is for high school. So again, our students in these courses are doing very well, and they're keeping up. And you can see again that the vast majority of the students are doing very well. And we're happy with this data, and they're going to be able to continue on doing very well in the pathway. Okay.
All right, good, Jen? All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Again, I'm Kenny Knoop. I'm the principal at Dolores Huerta Middle School. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the transitioning kids, the rising 5th grade DI students that are coming to us next year in 6th grade. The first slide there kind of shows you what a typical 6th grader that is not in the DI program would look like. They would get English, a social studies, a science, a math, a PE, and then the elective wheel, which we'll kind of get into a little bit here. But being in the DI program and taking the full spectrum of the class would include your elective being that 6th grade dual immersion Spanish, which would replace your elective wheel. And then your social studies would also be the DI social studies. And then obviously there's that choice that, you know, we need to discuss from the family side, but ultimately that is what the 6 period day would look like for an incoming 6th grader. When it comes to the middle school pathways, there's really 2 options that you can go with. One is, as a 6th grader, you were going to take both classes. That would mean that you were in the dual immersion 6th grade class and you were in the dual immersion social studies. Or you can choose, as a 6th grader coming in, to stick with just the social studies and have your student take the wheel. In that same,
I'm sorry. Nuria put in the chat, please speak slowly.
Sorry, yes, absolutely. And then another option that we do try to provide as well is we have after school enrichment specific to dual immersion kids. So the students that choose to take both sections, the Spanish DI for sixth graders and the social studies, we do have right now a culinary arts class 1 day a week that is, there's a monetary fee attached to it, but it is a culinary class that is with a Spanish language attached to it. And next year, I would like to grow those enrichment classes for DI and add possibly a art class as well, which could be after school with Spanish language. And then we also offer our music and theater arts that are all after school enrichment classes, which could help you make your decision on being in the wheel or not. The sixth grade wheel, for those of you that are interested in knowing that, is you will take 4 different 10-week classes. So you would take, in this example, the first 10 weeks would be a intro to computers class. The second 10 weeks would be a 10 weeks of intro to music. Then the second semester in this scenario would be 10 weeks of art and 10 weeks of culinary art. And if you also choose as an elective, beginning band, beginning choir, or depending on your need, the designated ELD, or as a dual immersion, you pick the dual immersion Spanish 6, the first year of dual immersion Spanish 6th grade. We are looking at where last year's students landed after the assessment. Was 40% of our students were recommended to go to AP Spanish language, and 60% of our students were moved into Spanish 3. For those of you for the pathway that are new to this, 6th grade is the DI 6th grade class. Then you go to a Spanish for Spanish speakers in 7th grade, and then a Spanish for Spanish speakers in 3rd grade is where that Spanish 3 or AP decision goes in. And then we will discuss in the pathways from the high school. Once you get there and you have the recommendation to choose, they can get you on your pathway. For our 8th grade students that are in our DI program, I just sent an email this week with the rubric for which the assessment is modeled after, the writing, the speaking, the listening, and the conversation. Jen might be able to speak a little deeper on what the 4 components of that are. But in case you did not get that email, we are looking at Friday, February 24th. We have John Burroughs High School. Senor Reyes is going to be coming to us. Those students are all going to be meeting in the library during the first period to do their writing prompt. And then they're going to be called back to Senor Reyes to do a one-on-one assessment to cover the other aspects of that exam. And then you will quickly after that be given your recommendation on placement, whether it's Spanish 3 or AP Spanish language.
So I'm so sorry that I'm having difficulties with the slides because Kenny was making some good points. I wanted to go back to the pathway and I'm back here. So there's a few questions that are particular to middle school that we can address that are in the chat. So actually, I'm going to go back a little bit. Oh gosh, there's some people are asking for statistics, like the drop from elementary to middle school percentage wise, and how many kids are in the program still in middle school in 6th, 7th, and 8th. I just ran the numbers and I just cannot remember them off the top of my head. So I will look those up and I can send that out to everyone. And Kenny, what else did you ask? I'm sorry.
There's a couple other questions here too. One of them was for 6th grade, a child has to take both Spanish and social studies in Spanish to remain in the DI program. Now, to be considered part of the DI program, you have to be in at least one of those classes. So either in the social studies Spanish or in the Spanish 6. You don't have to be in both of them to be considered in the program, just one. Why is 0 period Spanish offered for students taking Spanish for the first time so they can also take an elective, but not for dual immersion kids so they can have both Spanish language and an elective? I do not necessarily have the historical background on this, but we do offer the 0 period class, which is for 8th graders that are interested in taking the language to prep them for A through G certification in high school.
Sharon can speak to the,
Yeah,
to the,
Sharon can definitely speak
yeah.
to that.
Okay, so when we first started the program and wanted to have a 0 period for Spanish, because we didn't have Spanish 1 at the middle school, we had to negotiate with our union and make sure that we had teachers who could teach it. And so that was a long process. The other thing that's different at middle school than it is at high school is that a high school student who starts early can end and leave early. A middle school student cannot. So they are required to stay until the end of the school day. And that makes it an extra cost to the district because we have to have a class for them both at 0 and during the day. So that has become a little bit of a hurdle for us. And that doesn't mean we've given up, and we're still working within our budget and with our union as well, so we can have more offerings. I anticipate that we will, but it'll probably be a slow process.
there was also, yes, I'll be sharing the slides of the presentation. Somebody, oh, can you take those enrichment classes, Kenny, after school if you opt in only to social science?
Yes, so the dual immersion enrichment classes, right now it's only culinary. Hopefully next year it'll be culinary and art. Those are for any DI student that we offer to them because of the reduced, but we try to prioritize students that have both classes because of the lack of elective. But if there's seats available, then any DI kid could be in it. Whereas the drama and theater after school program are open school wide because we don't offer those classes during the instructional day.
Thank you. And let's see, there's a question that Spanish for Spanish speakers was targeting skill sets that arguably should have been addressed during years of study at the elementary level. Can somebody speak to the curriculum? Sharon, would you mind taking that one?
Okay, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that question?
Sure. The person's understanding is that Spanish for Spanish speakers 1 is targeting skills that were addressed in elementary.
I don't necessarily agree with that assessment. And I would say it's the same as in English as we progress, that we are going to just raise the level of complexity and depth. So it's more rigorous, even though it's not unfamiliar, we build on those prior skills.
Right. I think that's the key there. It's not unfamiliar. If you've looked at those textbooks for Spanish for Spanish speakers 1 and 2, it's heavy duty. It's definitely a challenge. It's not like a repeat of elementary or anything. Do the students have to relearn a lot of grammar? Well, yes. Personally, I was surprised at how much grammar my child had in 9th grade English. And I know that grammar is like just a big thing that it's been taught all along, but sometimes it just doesn't click for some kids until they're older. So the skills have been introduced, they've been taught, but it circles back around. And it like Sharon said, there's more depth, there's more complexity to it, and there's a higher expectation. Somebody said that the parents of 9th graders have heard from teachers they're not equipped or mature enough to take AP Spanish. Okay, we just looked at this grades. All of the kids in AP Spanish had A's at the first semester. So I'm not quite sure. I don't think there's a gap if kids are getting A's in AP Spanish. Are students all going into AP at the beginning of 9th grade? No, some are going into Spanish 3. Is it a tougher course? Yes, high school is tough, as you know, parents of high schoolers. It's a really hard transition. Can they handle it? The kids in the AP class, they can handle it. And then even, let's go back to the grades. Sorry, as I go backwards. Spanish 3, take a look. Okay, the statistics are trying to show you that the students in Spanish 3 who are in DI, so all of our 9th graders who are in Spanish 3 are doing well. They're either getting C's or A's or B's. Statistically, this is a very small group. So the actual number of students getting D's or F's is very small, because even though it says 7%, but you know how when you have a small cohort, 1 or 2 kids can totally change it. If you have 15 children or students and 2 of them are getting a D or F, then that looks like a lot larger than the 200 or 300 kids who are taking it in 10th through 12th grade. So if you look at the distribution of grades for the students in 10th, 11th, and 12th, it's not so, I don't see like there's a huge gap. Maybe I'm just not understanding it. I was very impressed with our students. And the teacher had said that his feedback was, yes, they needed a lot more grammar and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But you know, that group of kids in 9th grade, I've observed them a couple times in kinder and first and second and third. I remember them learning how to conjugate verbs in 1st grade. Like I said, sometimes it takes longer to stick. It may not come as naturally. They are hard workers. And the thing is that they walk into Spanish 3 able to participate and work with kids who are older than them and engage in group discussions. It's impressive what those kids are doing. Was it a transition? Of course. Yeah. I don't know if Kenny or if Sharon wants to add anything to that.
No, I think it's good.
No, I think you covered the bases.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Thank you. And you know, I keep going back to like a regular English class, and you'll have kids who take English 9 honors and they might struggle with it, and kids who don't struggle with it. It depends kind of on the kid. And just, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't come all the way down to the kid, of course. It comes down to teaching and the content and all that good stuff too. But I'm not seeing like huge gaps, huge red flags at this point. If somebody else sees a huge red flag, feel free to not DM me, send me a private chat or something. We can talk later. Okay, we did these slides. We were almost at 9th grade, but still there's a few more things. Seems like dual immersions kids should have priority to have the Spanish language. Oh, you mean for 0 period? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's not just the DI kids whose elective is a language class. There's a whole bunch of English learners across the district who also have their elective is chosen for them. It's called designated ELD. So is this something I'm passionate about? Yeah. Is this something I'm going to try and get changed? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Sorry, Sharon's probably like, dial it back, Jen, dial it back.
No, it's just that it's a process and it takes a long time, and we have a lot of different needs to meet. So we'll work on it.
I know. But since it's my passion, I'm a dog with a bone. I'm going to keep it going until we can get some more answers. Is it repetitive? Not, okay, Chris, no, not the Spanish for Spanish speakers. Not that I've been aware of. You can always email Joshua Weiss. He's the teacher at Huerta, and ask him what he thinks. I don't think it is. Copies of the syllabi and textbooks. We have them at the district office, not the syllabi, but the textbooks. Send you the curriculum. That, again, it's just like with any other course. If you want to know what's taught in 6th grade math, then we have the textbooks at the district office, right, Sharon? Am I off
That's
on
correct.
that? Okay, cool.
Yes.
And then somebody says,
Yes, and any parent is welcome to come into the district and come up to instructional services on the 3rd floor and see any textbook that we offer.
And if somebody has accidentally borrowed them and can't find them the day you're there, don't worry. They will drive to Burroughs to get you a copy. Because I'm seriously going, wait, where's the Spanish for Spanish speakers 2? Do I still have it? So we will, I know, don't worry, it'll be there. Okay, kids who want to remain in DI, they have to take at least social studies in Spanish, correct? No, It's one of the courses taught in Spanish. They can either take the 5 classes that English, social science, math, PE in English, and then take Spanish for dual immersion, or they can take an elective, all that other stuff, and the social science in Spanish. They just have to have one of the classes that's in Spanish. Okay. All right. Go off numbers rather than percentages? No, because, and I feel strongly about that. So please, Sharon, Kenny, you can jump in if you want. But I know that in the way that our data is posted district-wide, statewide, the state won't allow us to post, it's them posting. They won't post data where you could possibly identify the 1 or 2 kids who scored whatever. It's like, it's a privacy thing.
Correct. And the
So-
numbers are very, very small.
They are. And you know what? As the program grows through the high school, we will have a larger group and the data will be easier to grapple with. 31% in Spanish 3 after 6 years of DLA is not great performance data. Really? But it's passing. It's like getting a 3 on a report card in elementary school. So non-dual, take AP Spanish if they earned a C in Spanish 3. Oh, that I don't know. Kenny or Sharon?
Yes.
Okay. It's called open access, right?
Correct.
Isn't that what we're talking about?
Yes.
So, yeah.
That's for all APs.
Yeah. Right.
And what
Where-
open access means for newer parents to high school is that a student has the ability to self-select into a more advanced class with the C or better. With the C, we'll probably talk to him. The counselor will have a conversation just to make sure they understand the level of work that they will have in that class, but they are free to enroll.
One thing that just Peter reminded me of is that a lot of times we have electronic copies of textbooks. So if you wanted to see them, actually, I think your kid would have to have an account. But isn't it next year that we're doing a textbook adoption for world languages?
That's correct.
Okay. So whatever you'll be looking at for Spanish or Spanish speakers will be possibly obsolete in a year. Why are teachers telling the parents that the kids aren't ready for AP Spanish? I'm not sure. Sharon, Kenny, do you guys have a clue? Or is that, I don't know.
Mostly because they haven't had experience with this cohort of students yet. So this was the first year that they were in AP. And so they were apprehensive because their only experience is with students who have only had high school Spanish. And maybe the 1 8th grade Spanish one.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's more just fear of the unknown.
Yes. Disney PTA, the parents still say, oh, sorry. Stack English 6, 7, 8 curriculum against Spanish for Spanish speakers curriculum. There are different standards for English, California state standards for English, and there's different standards for world languages. So you could stack the standards against each other. And yes, it would be great to have it posted directly to the DI part of the website. So yes, thank goodness the chat's being saved so we can go back and fix that. Hiding the ball on these curriculum. Why not make them available online or email? Like I said, next year is going to be the adoption of a new textbook. What we are currently using, and this is true of any curriculum, we're not hiding anything in any of the curriculum, that there's the whole process that the state has us go through for adopting textbooks. And so Spanish for Spanish speakers was not available online, like a kid version, to my knowledge. There's like teacher resources online, but teachers need to have accounts for that. So am I off on that? I think I saw Kenny nodding.
Sorry, I was in the chat answering. Sorry.
You're awesome. Thank you. Oh, the email address for, oh yeah, Joshua Weiss. Okay. Okay, I think we can go on. I think most of the questions have been answered, or might be better served in a different, like we can come back to them if we need more info. Okay. 9th grade at Burroughs. Sharon, is this you?
Yes. Okay, so the 9th grade student at Burroughs also has a 6-period day. And within that day, there's one elective. So that would be the Spanish class if there's continuing with the program. And that would be based on the assessment that Mr. Nuke referred to, where most students will place either into Spanish 3 or into AP language. So if a student, and this is the difficult thing at both middle and high school, but at high school, they have a few more options in the sense that if they want to create space in their schedule for another elective, they could take a class in the summer before, like PE or health careers, or they could take a 0-period class, but the classes are limited, and especially for 9th graders, and it's usually just PE or some kind of a math class, because they have limited offerings in 0-period. Okay, and then this one is the high school pathways. So if the student starts in Spanish 3, then in 10th grade, they would take AP Spanish language. 11th grade could be AP Spanish Lit. And then in 12th grade, we have a community college, our dual enrollment program, where we have a professor either come to the college or have a course online that is furthering their knowledge of Spanish, usually with literature or civilization or history. Those are the typical classes that are offered at the college level. And those are all prereqs and part of the Spanish degree. So if they were wanting to continue at the university level with their Spanish studies, then those would all be good courses to take. Then you can see that the second strand is if they test into AP Spanish language as 9th graders, then they would go to literature in 10th grade. Then they could start a community college course in 11th and continue in 12th. Or if they wanted to, and some of our students have done this in the past, they could start another language and add that. So those are the options that we currently have and are planning for. So.
Okay, there's a couple more questions in the chat. One about we need to be striving for A's and B's.
Yes, I would agree.
Also, students are individuals, kids are individuals, we are individuals, and I don't think it's a failure. Anyway, I think that's like more of a philosophical thing, and it concerns you what I said. Okay, we can talk offline. Yeah. Do we need to line towards excellence? Yes. Yes. Okay. And then thank you, Tom, for your explanation about open access policy. They may self-select an AP class under open access. Yeah. They can. Sometimes the kids need to do it, and they need to try it, and yeah. AP 9th grade, there'll be no AP Lit class in Spanish, Sharon?
For 9th graders, no. For 9th graders, they can.
No, but
they would test into AP language.
Right, but I think our counselor told my 9th grader that there's no AP Lit class available next year. So to me, that sounds like 10th grade. The counselor saying there is no 10th grade AP. Well,
that's because they don't currently have AP Spanish Lit on their schedule. But I was meeting with the principal today and the teacher who will be teaching it about putting it on the course request form so that we're prepared for this year's students next year.
Excellent. When will you be hiring the teacher for AP Spanish Lit?
We already have enough staff that could do that.
Excellent. Do other languages, ASL, American Sign Language, and French, I believe, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Scholarships or aid opportunities for families who aren't able to afford the 250. Yes, you would contact Mr. Knoop. Yeah, and he put his email in there. Okay, excellent. Now we can go on. The master plan. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's funny because I put a line in there. We're not quite sure when the plan will be brought to the school board. I have to tell you guys, I had COVID. I was out for 6 days of work. And so I'm still catching up. I still have a COVID fog. And so did I get the master plan ready to be taken to the board yet? No, but it will be shortly, before the end of the school year for sure. So we've met 4 times, had a lot of good discussions. And the point of the master plan would be to guide the district in how we're implementing the dual immersion plan. I mean, the dual immersion program. Will it be available online? Of course. It'll be on the district website once the school board looks at it. They might send it back for more information. There will be data in there, baseline data. Usually master plans have a lifespan, just like our LCAP does. It'll start with 2023, like fall, and go for 3 years, and then we relook at it and see if there are things we need to tweak in the master plan. And the data will guide that. Data from it'll be grades, but also test scores. And thank you, Liz, for reminding us that we do have STAR in English. District wide, we use iReady in English. But yes, our dual immersion to elementary schools, so they can compare apples to apples. They have the STAR test in English and the STAR test in Spanish. So you can see how your child is doing at parent teacher conferences, which are coming up pretty quickly. Let's see. Oh, I forgot to mention this. We probably need to put this in the plan too. If a student, we've had a few students who in 8th grade, they're like, you know, I'm fine. I've had a lot of Spanish and I really just want to take an elective and take social science 8 in English, and then I'll come back to it in high school. And they can absolutely do that. So what I'm going to do is find the kids who are in the DI program in 7th grade and email their parents the same email. I'll forward them what Mr. Knoop sent out, or I can send the email addresses to Mr. Knoop. We're going to work it out. They will also be assessed, because we've had kids who, okay, it's only one cohort, only 1 year, but this year we had a couple of kids who didn't take any Spanish language class in 8th grade and still went into AP Spanish. So let's see. Okay, any questions on the okay, wait, let's going back. Oh, if students stop after AP Spanish and pass the AP test, will they graduate as bilingual, or do they need to continue on? So the seal of biliteracy, which is a state thing, they have, meaning that they have the qualifications or the guidelines that we have to follow. So we've had students already graduating with the seal of biliteracy. They have to have a certain score on, like, standard met or exceeded on the SBAC in English, and they have to pass. One of the ways to prove the proficiency in the target languages through an AP test. And again, that's what I can send out to everyone, is the link to that on the California Department of Education website.
But to be specific, they don't need 4 years of Spanish to get the seal.
No, they don't. There are some students, I don't know about in our district, but I heard in other districts who took the AP course, like immigrant students who come and took an AP course or an AP test in whatever language and then show that they were bilingual and they got the seal also. Sharon's going, really? Yeah, I heard that.
No,
It's
they did.
rare.
Well, the hard part for them is they have to demonstrate proficiency in English too.
Exactly. That's what I was just, yep, exactly. Okay, to get this dual seal, they have to take no, they do not have to take the community college courses. All they have to do is in terms of the target language for the seal of biliteracy, it's to pass AP Spanish language. 6 is an opportunity to schedule 0 period for kids who do wheel or band or is definitely off the table. I'm Sharon or what do you guys think in terms of able to offer other classes at 0 period?
Like we said before, we're gonna keep working on that, but right now we do not have that.
Yep. Are there any plans to offer other classes at the high school level taught in Spanish? That is a great question. And when I met with the world language teachers at the beginning, before school started this school year, some of them were saying, hey, Jen, if we get another, like a supplemental credential, I don't know what it's called exactly, Sharon, you can jump in, like in social
Supplemental
science.
credential.
Oh, okay, great. If they get a supplemental credential in social science, could they teach a social science course I'm like, yeah, none of them mentioned math or science. I think they're more comfortable with history. So yeah, but it would be a matter of them getting that supplemental credential, which involves for some of them taking tests, actually for all of them, I think taking tests and then also taking a course in like a college class and how to teach that content area. So a
Yeah,
few
it's
more
mo-
hoops.
Yeah,
So how are we working on it?
by meeting with all of the groups that this pertains to. They all have different needs, like I said before, so it's a negotiation, but we're continuing to have those negotiations. That's what I mean by working on it.
Thank you. Spanish 0 period being a priority to dual immersion kids. Should be priority over at least elective Spanish for the first time 8th grader.
No, it's not. And it won't be because both pathways are equally valid.
Yeah. It's the other part of the comment said, appreciate you have ELD students to also address. Yeah, I know. I wish we had. I wish we could do 7 periods during a day. Don't shoot me. Okay, moving on. So timelines that need to be met for negotiations to affect the start of, I do not know. I'm not part of negotiations.
What was that question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
That's okay. Timelines that need to be met for negotiations to affect the start of 2023 are when?
Well, they would already have to have been done for this coming year. So it's not happening for this coming year.
Okay. Who is unified point of context on working on extra period? I'm not sure what that means. You could unmute, Chris, if you wanted to and describe it. Oh, point of contact. Oh, like who should they contact at the district?
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I just like I recognize, and I think text sometimes comes across as potentially overly confrontational. It's not intended to do that. I recognize that folks are working incredibly hard. We've had a a massive curveball thrown at us with COVID. There's all kinds of like nonsense we have to deal with, like no question, right? We got budgetary constraints, we got X, Y, Z. Basically,
Yeah.
what I'm concerned about, okay, is that like, you know, yes, people are working on it. Well-intentioned people are working on it. That's fine. But if someone needs to go to the board and explain to the board from a parent's perspective why I feel it is important to invest time and resources and energy in this program, and who at the district is running point on that, so I can communicate in advance of going to the board, you know, and tell them, hey, look, how can I be helpful? Instead of just kind of like popping off, like, how can I help in a constructive way? I want to know who's running point with the union, with budget, with fine, with yada, 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 whoever it is, who's running point on some of these issues. So that way, like, I can understand who I can go to, because I just I'm super concerned, guys. It's like, I don't know how to explain, like, some of the questions that we're coming in with, at least from my perspective, it's like, you know, we got to giddy up here, right? And if the board doesn't have an appreciation for that, I'm more than happy to, you know, communicate that to the board. So that way it's not, it relieves some air pressure and provides air cover for, like, you know, staff, etc. It's just, it's ridiculous. I'm super, super concerned. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go on mute now. I'm just looking for a unified point of contact to say, like, hey, this is the person who's working on Huerta 6th period. I think I just heard someone say the 2023 negotiation is over and done with. So I guess I'm not doing it for 2023, but I'm sure going to do it for 2024 because I care. And I've also got a kid behind my first kid. Thank you.
Okay, so let me respond to that. So the negotiations themselves are not over for this year, but the scheduling process for next year has already begun. So that's why it's too late to really adjust that significantly for this coming fall. The people that are the point of contact at the district would be myself, Sharon Cuseo, I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services, Dr. John Paramo, who's the Assistant Superintendent of Student Services, and then Dr. Sarah Neiman, who is the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. So the three of us, and you could email any of us or all of us with, you know, your concerns. This is not something that the board can actually mandate. We have to work it out.
Yeah. And so Disney PTA, who made that comment, hopefully it's clearer now that negotiations haven't happened. It's the scheduling process that's begun.
Yes.
And does it help to know there's a DI parent on the board? I have no idea.
I was
I
just
mean,
saying,
no, I think
like, I am a
think
DI parent, so I'm glad to hear all of this, because I only have the perspective of having a kindergartner in the DI program. So Christopher, thank you for sharing that. As Sharon mentioned, like, this is all very sticky and very ongoing, but it's really good to hear all of that. And I've been here the whole time, like, reading the comments, all of it. So Jen, you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thanks. Even with the COVID fog, I'm glad to know that. So our last part here is about summer school or summer program. Sorry, it's not school. I mean, it's fun. The DI summer program is fun, and shout out to Susan Francisco, who started this, because, man, a woman with a vision.
I just want to share this opportunity with everyone that we have begun the process to go ahead and plan for our summer program, just as we have for our other programs too. So one of the first outreaches that we're doing is staffing. In order to go ahead and have staffing for, let's just say for now, the elementary summer program, we probably need 3 teachers and 3 instructional assistants for. So we've already begun the process to reach out to people. They're checking their summer schedules, and they're going to go ahead and get back to us as to whether or not they are available to go ahead and teach summer program. Summer program generally runs from Monday, June 5th through Friday, July 7th. And in the morning time, we have academics, and in the afternoon, there would be childcare too. So the program would start like about 8:30 and have academics until 12:50. And then from 12:50 to 5:30, 6 o'clock, we would go ahead and have childcare too. So once again, we're in the process of recruiting, staffing, and then once we have that tackled, then we'll go ahead and start to share more details and information, just so everyone is aware too, that the dual immersion parents in the past donated funds toward the summer program. So we have a little nest egg of about $25,000 in our budget right now. And I know that won't be enough money to cover everything, but it's going to cover quite a significant amount of the cost for personnel primarily. In the summer program too, we do special activities, special events. We have weekly themes that our teachers carry through with their children. And once again, we've well begun the process. It's easily can be shared and those kind of things. But once again, I want to take care of the staffing first and have that secured first. Alrighty. Jen, did you want to add more to it? Because you've also been highly involved with the summer program too.
Oh, yes. Okay. So why do we wait so long to plan for the summer program? This is how we do it, that we come back from winter break and we have to start looking at calendar.
Let
have
me
to
just
post
clarify that
jobs.
too, Jen, because it's not
Yes,
that
please,
much of
please.
it's not a heavy lift to go ahead and identify teachers and to plan too. It's a pretty quick turnaround time. Within 20, 30 days, we have our recruiting done. We have everything set up, designed. So it's not that heavy lift to get it done.
But I will also say that when you're trying to find staff, you reach out to them much sooner than February, you're not going to get anybody. If I asked somebody in September, October, will you teach summer school? We would have gotten 0 responses, right?
That's fair.
Now is the time
Yeah.
where they're looking and saying, yes, it's something I can do or not do. You know, I'm making my plan. So that's the other part of it. It's really
Yeah.
hard to plan too soon when you're talking about staff.
And folks have known informally all along that we're going to be offering summer program too. So it's nothing that is new to them either. So we're just trying to firm up that.
Correct. And I already reached out. I mean, we have the jobs, the summer school postings for teachers for summer, for DI and for regular and for special ed. They haven't quite posted yet, like in HR, but I've already reached out to all the teachers. I mean, like I even emailed my sister-in-law. She's not a DI teacher, but she has a bilingual credential. I'm like, come on, Jenny, let's do this. So she's probably like, oh, geez, Louise. But like, because I know who has their B-clad credentials in the district, and like I even reached out to a high school teacher who used to teach Spanish in middle school. I'm like, come on, 5th grade's not that far off from middle school, right? So I am talking it up a storm. I have 1 bite so far. I've heard crickets. It's kind of like
Me
what Liz
too.
said. If you ask too
Yeah.
early, they're like, it's not even on my mind. Let me get through parent teacher conferences.
And so just to be
Um,
clear, if we can go ahead and have enough staffing, we certainly will invite our incoming kindergarten children. There's no promises right now about that, but we'll see where we are, and then we'll have more firm information in just a short period of time.
I'm sorry, I was reading comments.
Me
Would the
too.
summer program only be offered for elementary? Yeah, it's but Kenny, are you still here? Yeah, he is. We can talk, I'll talk to him and we'll
Mhm.
see what we can do for summer for middle school. Oh, and
And we do
Heidi,
reach out beyond the district too for staffing. So
Heidi, consider reaching out to high school DI program. Absolutely. Yes. If we have the teachers to teach it, we will definitely reach out to high school DI kids to get their service hours. Oh my God, that would bring tears to my eyes to see those 9th graders back helping out our kids in the summer.
and they
That
love
would be
doing it
awesome.
too.
They
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yes. And current, is this for current 5th grade, future 6th graders? Yes. It would be ideally if we could have 3 teachers, we would have incoming kinders And then the outgoing kinders first, second, third, fourth, fifth grade. It's a big span, but it's a fun thing. It's, you know how like a lot of camps, they like will cluster age adjacent. Anyway, I don't know if I'm making sense. Right. Have COVID funds been used to help DI kids? Have COVID funds been used? ELOP, that's Extended Learning Opportunities Program, Peter.
That's
We
correct.
tried to have a DI summer program last year and nobody would teach it. So, and I don't know how else COVID funds have been used for instruction.
So for interventions across the district, we've used COVID monies. We've paid for the iReady program, which helps students to attain standards, and we measure their progress along the way. I know just in the past couple of weeks, I did comparative data, and this is once again for all elementary schools, where students at the beginning of the year were at this point on their trail of progress, and now they've made significant gains. So I know that we are advancing along the way, and by the end of the year, we'll have even that much more. And that data is, by the way, being shared next week by me with the state. So at one of my CalEd partners meetings. So much progress. And of course, we had all of the safety procedures we had to put in place too, in a relationship to the use of COVID monies too, and paying for certain personnel, et cetera, especially our health services. But quite a bit of money was put towards academics too. And there is a summary on the school district website too, where monies are spent.
Thank you. And I was just quickly scanning the chat too, where outgoing eighth graders be able to volunteer this summer as well. Can they start earning service hours before ninth grade?
I don't remember that for sure. Is Mr. Noop still on the call?
I am. What was the question? Can you please repeat?
Can incoming ninth graders earn service hours in the summer before ninth grade?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's really a point in time at which they're going to be turned away from service learning hours. I would just make sure you're getting the appropriate paperwork from the College and Career Center, the John Burroughs High School website. And there's a list of where you can start doing your service learning. And if not, you can reach out and I can help you get that information and even opportunities for service learning.
And the funny thing is, I believe that all of our elementary schools are on that list. So yeah, they should be able to. We'll say, yes, I'm adding that to my list. Don't forget those eighth graders. And thank you, Tom, for answering the question about AP curriculum is set by College Board. That's absolutely true. So if somebody doesn't want to take AP Lit for Spanish next year in 10th grade, because it's a college level and it's hard, okay, that's okay. There's so many things offered in the high school, and we will have dual enrollment the following year for their 11th grade year. Dual
Right, and
enrollment
they
with
don't-
LE. Mhm.
Correct. And they don't need to take the AP Lit course to go into the college level course either.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, curious for us trying to plan for the summer. Is there a date by which you would inform us that a DA summer program would not be offered? It would be probably the whenever the job postings close. Like if teachers have to apply by, I don't know,
At the beginning
March.
of March.
Yeah. And so if we have 0 applicants, and then Connie Trimble and I do a lot of behind the scenes, like, hey, are you interested? So we will be doing that up until that date. And maybe even after that date, but as soon, I understand. When my kids were little, I needed summer plans for them too. So I appreciate that. We will, middle of March, probably.
I'm
You
in
think
HR daily, and this is a daily conversation. So
Mhm. Ooh, Heidi, gosh, I swear, you parents have the best questions. I love it. I assume the AP Lit can be taken in 10th or 11th or 12th. Yes. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. All right. I think that's it. Oh, finally, I could stop sharing my screen. I can find my controls. They did. Oh, there they are. Oh my gosh. You would think that I had never done Zoom before with all the problems I'm having with it. Sorry. Okay. So that's it. 7:03, not too bad. Y'all know my email address, right? Even though it says Jen, it's technically Jennifer. I'm putting it in the chat. Email me anytime. Email Mr. Noop anytime. Sharon's like, yep, I put it out there too for myself.
Of course.
And Peter too. So, oh, and the teacher's name at Huerta. It's okay. I'll like get him a Starbucks gift card or something. Hey, I put your name in the chat. No, it's not a secret. It's on the website. Okay, that's it then, everyone. Excellent questions. I hope we answered them. I know that we're vague on some things because it's process. So you don't have all the answers tonight when things are still in process.
Correct.
Susan, you unmuted. You have something to say?
Probably not. I probably just pushed my button. Sorry.
Oh, hey, it's you, Susan Francisco. It just says Susan, so I had no idea.
Sorry. I probably just
It's okay.
inadvertently unmuted.
It's okay. I'm glad you were here because I do appreciate everything you've done for the program. And Nuria said hi to you too.
Hi,
Anyone else?
Nuria. Hey, who's on the master planning, the parents on the master planning committee?
Heidi. And oh my God, why can't I? I'm trying. Oh my God, thank you.
Heidi and Shauna from McKinley, and then Heidi from, well, now Huerta, right?
Uh-huh.
And Gabriela is from Disney.
and Tom's been in a few meetings.
Yep, Tom. And Juliana Sanchez and and Jessica Boucher, who are both teachers and yeah.
And I think Charlene was at the last meeting too.
No.
No, I'm crossing meetings then.
Yeah,
Sorry, Peter, you're crossing meetings. I wasn't
Uh-huh.
at that one.
That was the kinder forum.
Ah, yes, that one too.
Yeah, puedo hablar.
You're free.
I'm free from the cage.
Yes. So we had said at a prior meeting, we'd asked people if they had any interest on being on the committee, to let us know. And so it's a large group. It's great.
Susan, you should join. I've been there.
I was on the last master planning
She
committee, but I
was?
did not make the last meeting, so I did not know that was a request that was sent out. I would love to be on it.
I can send you the draft of it. I would
Yeah, for sure.
appreciate. Do you have time?
Yeah,
to
of
look at
course.
it? Okay.
Oh my
cool.
gosh. Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, can you send the draft to all DI parents? Oh my gosh. If you send me an email and you want it, then yes. The thing is that I'm afraid to send it out to all 300 something families because
Yeah, we're not ready. We want to send
Yeah.
it to them when it's ready.
Mhm. Charlene says not a draft. Right. Well,
Right.
we're very close to not, you know,
We're
the
almost
reason
there.
why, well, the reason why I asked Susan to take a look at it, she was on the original master plan writing committee and she would know what changes were made and how things were consolidated or expanded or whatever. So, yes, Johanna, over 300.
Well, and the other thing too is for the people who have a vested interest, it will be posted on the website once it's done. So it's not like it's a top secret document once it's got board approval for those parents who are curious.
Yep. Yeah. It was supposed to be I was supposed to present it to the board way back when, and then the board had decided they wanted master plans written in a specific way. And the way that our consultant had put it all together for us didn't fit that format. So that's part of the reason why it didn't go to the board yet. And then COVID.
That's okay. We're getting there. You've done a lot of work, so.
Yeah. Susan, what didn't COVID hit in the middle of Andrew's 6th grade year?
It hit at the end of his 6th grade year and he
Yeah.
was gone during 7th grade.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I was like, why weren't we coming back to address the 0 period thing again for that 7th grade year, like bring it up again? And now it makes sense. It's like we were all like, what are we going to do with distance learning?
Yeah, that sort of caused a little hitch in the process getting into high school. And I mean, those, I'm kind of bummed because at that point they'd already been in for so many years. I wish we would have had something locked in much sooner because I think that pathway would have been a little more set, but
Yeah.
bygones.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to stop recording now.
Yes.